Binge the full week ad-free over at patreon.com/inspireddisorder.
What you manifest in your mind, you can bring to reality.
Army of the Dead, new movie written and directed by Zack Snyder. I have been on the record multiple times discussing my utter disgust for Zack Snyder's inability to tell a story. I think all of the DC comic book movies that he's been a part of have been horrible. And no, I have not watched the extended Snyder cut of the Justice League. I don't have any desire to watch any of his comic book movies again. That is why I watched this movie. I thought maybe stepping into this movie, he wouldn't be burdened by the baggage of having to tell this comic book story and have all these references, which he loves to put in his movies instead of actual writing or plot or story development. It's all references. He wouldn't have to do any of this for a zombie movie, right? Army of the Dead, maybe it's based on a comic book. I don't know. But I felt like stepping into this, I'm going to give Zack Snyder, another chance. I enjoyed 300, I remember. Although I was pretty young when that came out, and I haven't revisited it. I don't know if it still holds up, but I remember loving it. Obviously, Zack Snyder, great visual style. I think he is a much better cinematographer than he is a director. And I don't know if anything that he's written that I enjoyed. So anyway, going into this, I had not high expectations, but my bar was really low. So I'm not a fan of his, but I was hopeful. I don't want to spend my time watching a movie that I'm not gonna like. I'm not like if I think I'm not gonna like it, I'm probably not gonna watch it. But I'm giving this movie the benefit of the doubt. And then I look at the runtime of this thing, and it's running at 2.5 hours, and I'm like, oh. I mean, Zack Snyder apparently doesn't know how to direct a 2-hour-long movie. Apparently, people that say that the Snyder cut is better, I mean, it's not like he just recut it. He reshot a lot of it. There's a lot of addition. It's like 4 hours long for that new version. So it's not like he just re-edited the thing. He had to redo a lot of stuff. I mean, it seems like he has to make up a lot of excuses to fix things that he's done in the past, which I'm not a fan of directors that do that at all. Shout out to the Star Wars guy that ruins his films constantly that aren't even his films. He didn't even direct the most of the Star Wars films, but he'll go back and ruin them anyway. Zack Snyder is very much like that. So I'm going into I love Batista. Huge fan of his. I think out of all the wrestlers that have become actors, he is the best actor. I think The Rock, probably the most charismatic. He's already the biggest movie star, but he's more movie star guy. He's The Rock in movies. He's never really shown any kind of range in his stuff. He's not throwing down dramatic performances. Where Batista, I think he's been in a pretty big variety of stuff, independent films, action films, comedies. And then there's that other guy that was in Trainwreck, and I just think he's the worst out of those three wrestlers. And then there's like female wrestlers, which, I don't think any of those are any good either. But, Ronda Rousey, nah, not quite. But yeah, so I'm a fan of Batista. I'm a fan of Tig Notaro. I'm surprised she's in this film. She's by far the best part of this film. Batista is also a great part of this film. I think some of the visuals of this film are amazing. I think Zack Snyder has a good visual sense. I just think his storytelling abilities are extremely lacking. This movie has the majority of this film is shot with an extremely shallow depth of field, some of which is done in camera and some of which is done in post, all of which is far too much. 90% of this movie is blurry. It's like I got a problem with directors hiding bad CGI in nighttime scenes, which this movie also does. There's a lot of like very dark scenes that happen to have CGI monsters in them. But also, it seems like Zack Snyder loves to hide CGI in complete blurriness. Like, so much of this film is blurry. And it's like there's a lot of style choices where things are happening inside the blurriness of the frame. And it just became far too much. It's like when Tilt Shift first came out for Instagram like a decade ago. Like one of those first filters where it's like, oh, everything looks like miniatures and everybody was using it. That's what it seems like. Zack Snyder just figured out that like shallow depth of field on that you can do that with within a movie camera or something like that. Just it seems like it's like such an obsession. Not as much of the slow mo. There's definitely slow motion in the intro, which the intro to this movie, while I don't believe tonally it fits with the movie at all, the intro felt more like a Zombieland cross with like a Grindhouse movie, right? Like there's a scene where a zombie is getting blown apart standing on top of a hood of a car by like a giant Gatling gun on the back of a army vehicle, and his body's just getting blown apart, so much like a Grindhouse film. A lot of slow motion. I thought the intro was one of the best parts of the movie. Way better than the movie. That first intro where it's just kind of introing some of the people, right? And it's got another thing that Zack Snyder's great at, where it's like this team of people. He introduces 7 members of the team, and then the 3 people not introduced, that where there's no intro, it's like one of them just quits immediately as soon as the team's formed, and then of course the others are immediately killed. It's so predictably pathetic that if you're going to go through the trouble of introducing all of these characters, kind of make sure you introduce all of them. Because killing off somebody, which was a pretty elaborate death for that first person that didn't have any kind of intro. I think she was just the buddy of a guy, that the social media guy. Pretty elaborate death for somebody that the audience has zero connection to whatsoever. But anyway, so the premise of this movie is basically Peninsula Train to Busan 2. Right? A group of people are being hired to go into a zombie-infested area that's been blocked off in order to steal money. Exactly the premise of Peninsula. It's the sequel to, I think it's called Peninsula, presented by Train to Busan. It's the sequel to Train to Busan, which is one of the best zombie films ever made, I would say, is Train to Busan. The sequel to that movie is okay. The premise that is exactly this premise is handled a little bit better in this movie. Although I think once they get Train to Busan 2 inside the infected area, there's kind of like a Mad Max kind of contingent. There's people that are still in the infected area in the Train to Busan 2. Where this one, Vegas is infected with zombies and has been walled off. So Vegas is surrounded by a wall. Outside of that wall are like internment camps where it's like the population, the uninfected population of America doesn't want those people to enter because they're not sure if they're infected or not. Kind of has some pandemic undertones to it. Also has a president, right? You hear on the newscast, there's a president that's very similar to our previous president who's like, kind of excited. The whole thing is they're gonna nuke the walled off area. They're gonna nuke Vegas to eradicate this zombie virus, right? And they're doing it on 4th of July, and the president's super stoked. He's talking about it like it's gonna be a cool thing, and we're not just going to level one of the most popular cities in the country. Which is, I mean, this movie also feels like it references how ridiculous Trump would have handled the situation, but also at the same time, I think agrees with it. I could be wrong. I haven't heard anybody else mention this. So anyway, there's a team going in that's going to try and steal some money from a casino. Blah, blah, blah. They get hired. Batista's in charge. He's got a girlfriend, which apparently they have a relationship that doesn't, I don't know. It's the ragtag group they come up with is whatever. It takes forever to, like, the first hour of this movie is Batista assembling this crew, right? Which he's some badass guy that escaped Vegas. Like the intro is like of a bunch of people escaping Vegas before it gets locked off. And of course, he's this big mercenary guy. So of course, what are you gonna do after escaping Vegas? You're a big mercenary guy in this world where crazy stuff happens. Oh, he's a short order cook in a diner. Of course. What else would you do? What else would your qualifications be in that kind of reality but a short order cook? So he gets a team. It takes an hour to get this team together. It's also setting up side stories. Like, this movie could have easily been a 90-minute film. It would have been a much better film. There's like these characters that are in the internment camp that somehow Batista's daughter, which I'm not sure if it's his daughter, if it's just like a girl that he found while, I don't know. Some things are unclear, but there's like this side story where there's these other characters that are in this internment camp that are also trying to sneak into Vegas to get money so that they can afford to get out of the internment camp. It's just like this unnecessary storyline that later on in the movie, right, there's a time limit, right? Because this bomb's going to go off. They're going to nuke Vegas, which I believe they rescheduled the day of the launch of the nuclear. It seems like they moved it up a couple hours. I think there's a scene where they're in Vegas, which, by the way, the whole entire casino was powered by a generator that only had like 5 gallons of gas in it. Like, there's a scene, Batista's filling up this thing. You don't know what it is because it's not the helicopter. That's what they brought the gas for. Next thing you know, he flips a switch and the casino turns on. Like, first off, that gas isn't going to last long when you turn on the whole casino. And second off, why are you turning on the whole casino? Like, they got, for some reason, cable still works. They got cable service in there. All the slot machines turn on. It's like, what are we doing here? So I can understand you want to have things light up because it's Vegas, and you're not really going to show anything outside of Vegas. There's not going to be a lot of Vegas kind of landmarks. In the wide shots, you see some landmarks, but the hotel that this movie's focused on is not a real hotel. Like, that's another thing this movie's lacking. It's like you set it in Vegas, but there's like so little like Vegas in it. It's very similar to Palm Springs, the movie, which is a good movie, better movie than this, but it has zero to do with Palm Springs, or at least shows zero of Palm Springs in the film of the title. So anyway, so there's this scene at the end, right? Time's running out. We got 20 minutes left. His daughter goes missing, right? Because she's going to go track down her friend that got lost from that side story that they set up earlier on in the movie, like 2 hours ago. She goes off. And then Batista's like, I got to go find her. Let me tell you, for anybody that's never been inside of a hotel the size of hotels that are in Vegas, right? Let's just take one hotel. Now try and play hide and seek in that hotel. How long do you think? Are you going to find somebody within 20 minutes? Now imagine there are multiple hotels that this person could be hidden out. You're going to go find some person that's somewhere in a Vegas hotel within, let's say you have 3 hours to do it, right? Let's say you have the entire runtime of this film. You're not going to find it. But yet this girl, she pounces out, obviously finds the people that are still alive for some reason. And then Batista also finds these people. Like, it's the craziest game of hide and seek inside of a giant city with thousands and millions of rooms to be hiding in. And both the daughter and the dad find these people. Stupid. There was some good stuff. Like I said, Tig Notaro, Batista. There's one of the members of the crew is this black dude that's like his weapon is this like saw, this giant like masonry saw, and then there's the safe hacker guy, which is the white dweeby guy. They kind of have a fun little relationship that doesn't really. I mean, it's little friendship. It's like the only kind of character development in this movie is that little friendship that occurs. But other than that, it's pretty. And there's this other side story about the zombies where it's like the zombies are smarter than they appear. And they try to set this thing up like there's a king zombie and a queen zombie, and it's like they reference that the queen, because like she's got a flat stomach, but you know the zombie earlobe is so powerful that when the king zombie put his ear to the extremely flat belly of this female zombie, he could clearly hear that life had been sprung. You know, he's like the conservative zombie guy. It's like, I'm pretty sure there's something alive and kicking in there, so let's just celebrate prematurely. And that won't come back to bite. I mean, they only set that up. There's only like this setup that like zombies, like they have some kind of intelligence, and that there's this baby. So you feel bad when she dies. Like I have more sympathy for this zombie couple in this movie that are just, you know, you have humans coming in to steal money it's pretty worthless in general. But you know, they come into your kingdom and they try and kill it. It's just like this overly complicated thing that could have been very simple and boiled down into 90 minutes. But it doesn't seem like Zack Snyder's too worried about being a good storyteller. He just really likes to display his ability to show off his shallow depth of field, his ability to do that similar effect in post-production where clearly shots that were not shot with a shallow depth of field must be like 90% blurred out, because that's just kind of the visual style of how he's going to be just displaying this nonsense of a story. I don't know. And nobody had a sense of urgency towards the end. Like, if you didn't know that they were like 20 minutes from getting nuked, like they seem pretty lackadaisical. Like even Batista, when he's getting into this helicopter, right? Tig Notaro's the helicopter pilot. She's going to fly him out. She's the getaway driver. And Batista's like getting into the helicopter, but because he takes like 5 minutes to get into the helicopter, right? Like they're clearly running away from a lot of things other than just a nuclear blast. There's like zombies after him. But it was like enough time to where the helicopter doesn't take off. You know, it takes off super slow. And then it gives enough time for the king zombie to jump inside. Like that whole sequence, the way it's edited is ridiculous. Like it's clear that Zack Snyder, loves every inch of film that he captures, that he does not want to cut anything out, even if it were to help out pacing wise. Even if it were to make an intense a scene that's supposed to be intense, stressful action moment, he will stretch that out for no reason. For no reason. It's ridiculous. Like this guy has no idea how to like edit down a film. Whatever. It is what it is. I mean, if I was young, I would have loved it. Stupid things happen. I think Zack Snyder's not a good writer. I don't think he's a good director. I think he has an interesting visual style, even though he's up his own ass most of the time with this, 90% of this movie is just blurred out. Blurred out! But yeah, Army of the Dead. You can watch it for free on Netflix, so you don't have to go to a movie theater. Although it probably would have been more fun in a movie theater. Just the spectacle of it. That 10% of in-focus material would have looked bigger on the screen. But yeah, I wasn't a huge fan. I felt it suffered from all of the things Zack Snyder's films suffer from. And yeah, so I gave it a shot. Go over and get yourself some amazing coffee over at stationhousecoffee.com and follow Station House Coffee on Instagram for the best coffee in the world. Hands down. It's been voted on. It's been chosen. Deal with it, people. It's the best small batch, single origin, premium coffee you will ever get inside of your body. So go order yourself some amazing coffee over at stationhousecoffee.com and give Station House Coffee a follow on Instagram and let them know that I sent you. New episodes of The Ray Taylor Show come out every single day. Subscribe on IGTV, YouTube, and everywhere else podcasts are found. Binge the full week ad-free over at patreon.com/inspireddisorder. Follow the show on Instagram at Ray Taylor Show. Buy my merch over at inspireddisorder.com. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Peace out.